Bob.
Okay, all right, call the meeting to order. Well, let's see, first I'm gonna say, welcome to anybody that's out there. This is the regular meeting of the Village of Lake Bluff Architectural Board of Review, December 3rd, 2024. This is our last one this year. Okay, now roll call.
Oh, okay. Member Cottrell,
Present.
Member Dahlman,
Here.
Member Deegan,
Here.
Chair Hunter,
Here.
Member Wicks.
Here.
And members Stradiff and Kerouac are absent, but we have a quorum.
Okay. The minutes of the last meeting, which was November 12th, any comments, corrections, ideas, whatever?
I move approval.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, so we are going to shift the order of the meeting right now to deal with the Tesla group. On the vehicle chargers at the Target. And so, Mike, you want to introduce what's going on there, the people there?
Sure. Yeah, so the first applicant for 120 Scranton doesn't seem to be here, so we'll go ahead to Tesla. And I've promoted you to panelist, so feel free to share your screen there with the PowerPoint and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the latest revision to your project. Thanks. Hopefully he didn't step away from his computer at this moment. Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. All right. Sorry, let me pull up my presentation real quickly. I was having technical difficulties trying to get this going.
Sure.
All right, that's too much.
Yeah, no, he's not. And let me know if you'd rather have me share the PowerPoint. I can do that if it doesn't.
Yeah, if you can actually share the PowerPoint. Sorry, my computer's going a little bit slower today.
Yep, no problem. Let's see. Just, okay, we've got the first slide up.
Perfect. All right. My name is Ramadan Motaria. I go by Donnie for short. I'm the design manager for Tesla.
Okay.
I took this project over for Irina Yanishin. She was also another design engineer for Tesla. We are essentially just proposing a new charging station for Tesla here in Lake Bluff in this Target parking lot. So as we go through this, we're just going to kind of be showing our equipment, what the layout technically should look like, answer any questions your team may have. And, we're just essentially trying to look forward to getting through the permitting here with your team.
Okay.
So this is the first page. It's essentially the dimension plan. This is what the layout's going to be. We're going to utilize one of the islands that are existing right now in the parking lot. And our chargers will be in that row of parking back to back. This is just some technical information about our charging cabinet and the charge post. This slide, I know we had a lot of questions from Michael Croak. This is going to be the manufacturer that will be able to provide all this. Our goal is to match the lighting that's existing in the field right now. We'd match the same exact height, the lumens, the output, the color, everything. Our goal at the end of the day is to essentially just, outside of just adding the chargers, we don't want to try to impact anybody here, especially Target. And we want to try to make sure we meet all your requirements. So. And this is not the exact site we're building, but something extremely similar. As you can see, we're just kind of putting the charge post on that concrete spline that we call, that little rectangular concrete lift just to provide a little bit of extra protection for the posts themselves, prevents cars from backing up and actually hitting them. Protection also comes from the bollard, and this is what the layout would be. The only thing that's missing here is the extra light that we would be adding. It'd go directly on top of that concrete spline. And yeah, the only other difference is those are the old V3 posts. Our V4 posts are pretty much the same dimensions. They just look a little bit different. That's about it.
Okay.
So you know you've got it?
What's that, Bob?
That's it. Does he know you've got this slide up?
Oh, yeah. So that's the end of his presentation, so if you want to go
Oh,
back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, that was pretty much my presentation.
Yeah.
I apologize. Essentially, we put this together just to kind of let everybody know what our site plans look like, what the tentative plans are, how the layout will look like in the field, the lighting that we're going to try to model and replicate in the field as well to match the existing target parking lot, the location of everything as well. Yeah, just wanted to open it up at this point and see if there was any further questions, if there was anything else you needed clarification on, anything along those lines.
Art, you want to start?
No, I don't, I really don't have any questions. Essentially, you're not trying to screen the, your equipment. You are providing from screening for the ComEd transformer.
So we are providing screening. If you could go back, if you could scroll through the slides one more time, Michael.
Let me go to the packet because maybe that was showing a little better on something that wasn't in the slides but was in the packet, I think.
Yeah, I see.
So on page 2 of the PowerPoint presentation, I don't know if everybody has it in front of them. We do have screening for the ComEd transformer using landscaping. We could essentially match whatever your team would propose. A lot of times we just use typical landscape screening just to try to have the least amount of impact there. And then we do have also screening around the cabinets on the same exact island. It's what we call a Trex enclosure. So it's kind of like a fence with a single, with the gate opening. There is 2 entrances, 2 different entrance points. It would be equipped with a Tesla lock on there. We could give that lock combination to, obviously the Tesla team, but if the fire department or anybody else needs to get access to it, we would be able to provide and work with that team as well.
And I see that it's a saddle brown color.
Yes.
Yeah, picture of the other parking lot. You could see it in the back.
The same?
Yeah.
It looked like something was white in that.
We've seen this several times, and it seems to me that most of what we had talked about previously, they've done.
They have.
So I think it's fine.
Same.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fine.
So, did you have anything else?
No, I think the location is great and it looks good.
I have 2 questions. One,
Yeah.
is the material around the big transformer on the ground, looks like there's the landscaping around the perimeter, but then there's something else around the transformer itself, and then I don't know, is that gravel or rock or what?
Yeah, so obviously the transformer does need to go on a ComEd approved transformer pad for safety to make sure that no critters or anything could burrow underneath it. We would put gravel on that island as well. Typically we use crushed stone, any type of smoother surface, just to prevent safety for when ComEd does go out there and install that transformer, plus when our service techs are out there. We want to make sure that the type of stone that they're walking on isn't going to really cause any type of slips, trips, or falls. So we would have the same exact type of crushed stone or gravel inside of the Trex enclosure as well.
So then it looks like there's a grass band around the perimeter that the evergreens are planted in?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
And somewhere in here, you are proposing to replace a tree. And I don't, where that tree is. I don't-
I think maybe
Are
they're,
we
It's in the
calling
next
that?
island up. Proposed replacement of red maple.
Give me 1 second. I can pull
That's
up
on
the-
page L101.
Okay. So I believe that probably needs to get replaced. I'm sorry, we would remove that label as we are no longer building there. That might have been an old note that never got removed.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, I apologize. I could make sure we could update that and remove that note.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions? All right, you're still turning pages.
No, I have no questions. No further questions.
Okay, so I appreciate you, Tesla, taking the effort to do this as we asked, more or less.
Absolutely.
And actually, it's in a part of the parking lot that is very seldom got cars in it, except for school buses waiting once in a while. So, all right, well, thank you. Okay, now, so we have to make a motion.
Yeah, so this should be a motion to make a recommendation to the village board, since they'll also have to go to the PCZBA for the amendment to the special use permit.
Okay,
A motion to make a
Somebody do
recommendation.
I move that we recommend to the village board that they approve the design.
Second.
roll call.
Okay. Member Wicks,
aye.
Member Cottrell, Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Deegan,
Aye.
and Chair Hunter.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. The recommendation is approved.
Awesome.
Okay,
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, what else are we gonna do? We can look at the calendar?
Yeah, we can do the calendar
Here?
while we're waiting. Yep.
Is,
They're, yeah, Drew, I believe that's what Drew was saying, is that they're on their way.
they're on their way.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have trouble with the calendar, as far as we know?
So I did move the January date to that Thursday, the 9th, that I'd emailed everybody about. I'm going to be on vacation and coming back in late at night on the
Gary.
7th. So I'm glad everyone's okay with
This January
With the
13th.
9th.
Wondered what the conflict was.
Yeah, right, right.
He's on vacation.
Yeah.
Where are you going? I know you told me, but I don't
Going
remember.
to Canada. My sister
Canada.
wanted to see
So seeing
Canada,
your
and that's
sister.
when she has vacation. So
Yeah.
we're I'm taking my dad up there. She's flying in, and her husband's flying in. We're gonna-
You're not gonna do any kayaking in January in
Oh,
Canada, are you?
no, we're not.
We're in
We're gonna
Canada.
go to see Quebec. We're gonna go through Toronto and Montreal and Quebec.
in
and
January.
In January.
Wear warm clothing.
yeah, I know. I am. I'm planning my clothing already. Yeah.
Okay, well, what are we gonna do now?
Well, we can make a motion to approve the meeting schedule.
Oh, okay. Somebody wanna do that? Make a
I
motion?
move that we approve the meeting schedule as
Second?
proposed.
I
With the-
second.
Change of January 9th. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess we'll do roll call. Member Cottrell,
Aye.
Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Deegan,
Aye.
Member Wicks,
Aye.
and Chair Hunter.
Aye.
Okay, it's all approved.
Okay.
What happened to my,
So are we're not allowed to talk about the building that's coming up until they get here?
Well, no, we are already in the public meeting, but so it's not, so legally we're allowed to do it, but I don't know if we really want to. I mean, we're on Zoom.
Yeah.
With
With the world?
the world, yeah.
why, did you have something to say?
I thought it looked good.
I have one question, and I'm not, the windows and all the metalwork and everything is black.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if we like the black, and I don't want to do it white. It's really not a colonial building, and I know you're doing the black. You started that fad as far as I'm concerned.
I did not start that. Come on.
But anyway, should we ask them to look at a different, well, first of all, I don't know what that material is.
Right.
You know, is it wrought iron? Is it not ever painted? What, you know, what is it? Or is it aluminum? Does it require upkeep? I don't know. But I was just looking and you drove through town and, you know, the building right here, well, I can't remember the name of it, the Osterling Building, is that what they call it?
Oh, the Center Avenue Partners building?
Yeah.
The one at the
Yeah,
Innovasi
okay, that's got a
Innovasi
sort of
and all
a palish green trim on it. Then you go around the corner and it's white, and then what the thing that Matt did, which was the prairie, that does have black, but then everything else is white. And,
Yeah, they did include this, which does show, you're right, there is.
yeah, yeah.
Do you really feel it has to be matchy though?
Huh?
I don't think it has to match.
No, I don't think it has to match. I'm just asking if something other than the dark. And I went by their buildings, you know, that in Lake Forest that
Yeah.
they've got. And it's like, oh, okay, these look okay. They
They're
look
nice. Yeah. They're big.
Well,
Those are
there's one in
really
the
big.
back that's not as big.
That's right.
There's the
That's
two
right.
big ones and then
They
there's
just
one back
finished
here
that.
that they just,
Was-
not even done.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah, so, you know, I just thought I'd bring it up, if we wanted to ask them to try some other, you know, not white and not cream, but maybe some other color scheme other than that.
Maybe it's a
or-
dark bronze as
Yeah.
opposed to the black.
Yeah,
We've seen a shift in
Yeah.
that as well, so it's not as harsh.
it,
Yeah.
and it didn't look as
I think
harsh.
the one in Lake Forest is black. I think it is.
It is.
But I think all those railings are powder coated black. And so all the porches and whatnot, I think all of those, I don't think they're all metal, but I think,
Well, they are,
part of
I don't know
them
about
look like
there,
it.
but they have real porches hanging out. This has got the porches on the ground.
yeah, it's just in
And
the
they
inset
look like
of the
they're
brick.
enclosed screened-in
Yeah.
porches, so,
Yeah.
okay.
I think that's a good point. I was wondering, I was gonna ask them about the color of the brick, because, and maybe they're gonna bring samples or something, but I noticed in their renderings, this looks very red, you know, and then in their more like 3D type of a view, it kind of looks sort of more buff or orange, or, you know what I mean? And I was just
I
wondering
think-
what they were intending.
Well, I'll let them speak for it. My guess is that it's gonna be closer to what they have in Lake Forest, which is a little darker.
Like a redder,
It's not red, but it's a darker with red in it. Mm-hmm. It's,
because there's definitely a lot of brick. So I was just kind of wondering, because it definitely, in their two different renderings, looks very different.
well, one's in sunlight and one isn't, and, you know, those are pretty extreme. I'm pretty sure that's not it.
This one,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, that looks like red, like schoolhouse red to me.
And one thing I do want to mention is the process spelled out in the planned mix development.
Yeah.
Says they come here for a workshop. Hi, Peter, welcome. Says they come here for a workshop, you know, preliminary workshop discussion, the preliminary phase, and then they go through everything in a final phase, you know, plan commission, village board.
Hey, Bob.
And
How you
so
doing?
Here for a vote in the final phase.
Oh, okay, so that's good to know.
Yeah, so we'll
Just you
see
tonight?
this again.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you not realize that this was the?
I just literally got off the plane and drove right here.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh, okay.
sorry about that. I didn't realize.
Oh, okay, so you knew it, but you just knew you had a tight schedule to get here.
Yeah, and then you're sitting on the tarmac. You're like,
Yeah.
Good as
Like out of the plane.
let's
Yeah.
see. Let me send you the presentation.
Okay.
What's your? That's weird.
It's M. Croak.
Oh,
M.
M. Croak, okay.
Yep.
There it is. Okay. Oh, let me.
Where were you?
I was in Florida.
Oh,
Yeah, it wasn't a bad thing, other than I was fixing something that got water in it, so wasn't. Let me see here. Did it go?
It did not come through.
Okay, let me just. Okay. Let me try to send that again. Okay. We'll try that. And I can start a little bit.
Okay.
I'll just talk a little bit about
I mean, I can just share our packet to the screen too.
Oh, okay.
Which has
We can do that.
stuff.
So, oh, okay, right. Okay, so this is just the site plan,
The existing survey.
existing survey.
Yeah.
And this is,
Oh, here's your
You
email
got it?
came through. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
super.
open it up.
I made it. Just in time. Still loading it up.
Yeah, 35 megabytes. Let's see here.
oh, it's in a cloud. Oh, man. There is no such thing as a cloud, you know.
I think one of the things that, when we started this build, or thought about this building, when we got it to half the site, instead of having the Trombley site or the east part of the site, we're just the bank. It kind of simple, it all kind of came, I thought, came together for us. Because, for two reasons. One is, our site's in the CBD. It's clearly part of the CBD. It's zone CBD. It's, makes a triangle, sort of does it. The other site is not. And it's surrounded, not only zoning-wise, but for a good reason. It's surrounded by residential on three sides. It has a bunch of old trees on it that are open, and there was a lot more. And when we had this project before, we thought about the whole site. The scale of it is large. I think in the half of the site, we feel like, oh, this is pretty comfortable. And then you go from, if you think about Scranton Street and the commercial buildings there, and then you go to the north, you see commercial buildings and residential buildings. So even from sort of like turn of century, it was more like, okay, we have a commercial building, next door we have a residential building. And I think, so I don't see that, and I know some people sort of have issues with that idea. And I think from a historic standpoint, that's the way it was. If you look at any CBD, you had commercial buildings and residential buildings. And there wasn't this idea that you could have this hybrid of things that was sort of, when the transition, it went from a commercial building to a residential. That residential somehow looked, they slapped gables on it or turrets on it or other things to make it feel like it was residential. So, and your zoning code or your guidelines for the, you able to pull that up yet or no?
I'm having technical difficulties because downloading PDFs from the cloud is something my computer has difficulties with.
Should I send it to Drew?
Yeah, I don't know, Drew, if you want to put it on the network that I can open from or something, or I can
Let me just go ahead.
How different is this from our packet? Because I could
It
just
has
go
a
to the
couple things in it that I want to share.
And I'll get it.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. Or maybe, yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to redo this.
I can send it to Drew, actually.
Let's see. Okay. All right. So your design, the language in the design guidelines for CBD buildings says they should relate to CBD buildings. So, that even made it more clear to us about the direction of what our design was, and it should feel like a CBD building, look like it, and historically look at it. And if you look at the guidelines from the state in that Article 19, whatever that, which it talks about storefronts and all, how the, elevations were done historically, that's pretty much what our design elements are. So that's the premise for the design. And we feel, one is, we love the site. We feel like it makes a great residential for what we're looking to do. And basically, we're looking for people to age in place. And why do they want to live here? Their kids are here, their grandkids are here. That's actually the two biggest things. It's not taxes, it's not the weather, it's not other things. But grandkids typically are the biggest draw for that. Yeah, I know. That's what we started with, and we thought, when we did the other project when we were here, I don't know, it was 3 or 4 years ago, the whole site, I think, is too much. And the other was, we're not sure how much appetite the market is for this. 8 of them we're relatively comfortable with, 16 of them, I don't know, it seems like a lot, like to us. So that's oh, okay.
I think I got it.
You got it? Awesome.
I think I got it.
So, it was nice that we had spent a fair amount of time looking at Lake Bluff.
Oh, no, that's just one page. It only gave me the first page.
Is there any way I can just share this screen or no?
If you connect to the Zoom, do you?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But Drew was going to do that, but I can.
Okay. Well,
give you the Zoom
let's see. Let's see. Let me just keep going, and we can try.
Yeah, but you could do it too. You can go to. It's lakebluff.org /virtual ABR. Go to that Zoom link, and then I'll promote you to panelist.
Okay.
And
Architectural Review Board.
lakebluff.org /virtual ABR.
Join Zoom. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Join meeting.
Recording in progress.
Yep, you're there. I'll promote you to a panelist, and then you'll be able to share. But you got to mute your microphone on that computer.
Okay, hold on.
Recording in progress.
All right.
Comes true.
Well, this is pretty. It's just me big.
It's a key file.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I think we got it this way.
He's going to do it. He's going to share it to.
Okay,
to
so
the
I can
screen.
share.
Yeah, you can share it to the Zoom.
Or is it? I can just pull up what I got, or what?
Yeah, now you can. You should be able to pull it up and click share on the Zoom and share it to the screen.
Screen. All right. Okay. There we go. I don't
Don't
know.
you miss the 30 by 40s?
Yeah, I know. That's it. All right, so this is just the existing site. This is being the CBD. This is just a language in the design, which I'm sure y'all can read that, which was about really relating to buildings in the CBD that are visually compatible with that.
Can you hit play? Did that get it to?
Yeah, probably would. Oh, that's much better. Thanks, Drew. And then I just had the pamphlet from the number 19 in the Illinois Preservation Series, which talks about, actually it was interesting to see, they were talking about the cast iron and how it translated the storefront in the little after the turn of the century and how that developed. But then just the elements of typical CBD small town buildings, double hung windows, cornices, some entablature on the top, and then on the first floor they have retail, so they were trying to have something a little bit bigger. So we had spent a fair amount of time looking at buildings here. We did a submission for Block 1 prior to what it was, so we had spent some time on that and thought about the CBD at that point. And then when we did about 4 years ago. But I think just, looking at around town in terms of the cornice details, existing windows, mainly double hungs, double singles, in different ways that they do them, some arch, some brick detailing. But really the detailing in the buildings are really pretty simple. It isn't a really complicated set of parts. I think entrance doors are interesting, all different types, pediments, arches, squares, those things. So this is the language that we developed for the building itself. So soldier courses around the windows. The single windows have arches over them, limestone or cast stone sills, and then the cast stone detailing of the cornice in the top piece, the pilasters at the corners, the front entrance being a circular entrance piece, and then the metal porch elements at the corners, which we think, is this sort of kit of parts of cast iron or metal things that did openings at the lower level, as opposed to some sort of more residential wood trellis kind of thing. We think that the steel, black steel, makes a lot more sense. All right. Oh, this. Oh, no. No. Pops. Here we go. Okay. So the elevations are really, this is the two street elevations, which is the south elevation, which has a center door. It's symmetrical, has a pediment over the center section, then steps around at the back corners and has porches at the end. And then the west side has the garage entrance in the center, which has a pediment, again, the corners. We do have the penthouse element, which we're planning on doing in dark siding to make it recede. Then the north and the east elevations, double hung windows, combinations of 1, 2, and 3. We're really sort of the same detail. You have this cornice that runs around. We've got a brick soldier course that goes at the floor level, and then at the detail at the heads for that. Footprint of the building is about 11,000 square feet. It has these corners cut out for the outside areas. For underground parking really was as part of the design elements too, which really makes this thing work because we don't have garage doors. We don't get all the cars off the streets. Units range from 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. This is a 4-unit on the first floor. We may go to 3 units if people want bigger units, so we'd have 6, as few as 6, as many as 8 units. And then the penthouses, which have private areas and have green space on the roof for the second floor units. These just shows the sight lines of how you can't see the penthouse from the streets for that. And then we had Mariani do a landscape plan, which really is a little different than our elevations. It has higher hedges to give some privacy for the outdoor spaces on the first floor, and then steps down in the entrance and has 2 ornamental trees on either side there. And so I really like what they've come up with for that, sort of keeping the parkway trees that are there. We may have to replant them if they end up getting not being able to be salvaged during the construction. And then these are the renderings of it. So the brick, we would like to use a historic brick, much like the ones that we use down on McKinley, with a cast stone, same thing. But I like the hand-molded look to it. It's a little bit oversized. It isn't a true module. Again, it's more of a historic Virginia type brick. and it's a pretty deep red brick. These renderings tend to have it a little bit lighter. I think it a little bit darker, which will fit in the CBD really pretty well. So I think that's it for my presentation. So I'd open it up to you.
You done, Pete?
That's it.
Okay, Art, comments? You want to start?
I guess, I guess I would sort of take issue with, you're making it look like the rest of the buildings in the downtown. And I don't think that's necessary. The other thing I would say is that immediately to the west, it's not a two-story building. It's those one-story. So, it's not really connected to those buildings you're referring to. And it seems to me that it could be a different building and, maybe a better looking building. I use the train station as an example. It's completely different than the rest of the downtown buildings, but it's really a positive addition to the downtown. And I just wonder if this is an opportunity to do something that maybe doesn't look like the rest of the buildings on the south side of Scranton, but is going to really improve the look of downtown. The other thing is it doesn't really look residential. That would be one thought I'd have, that, in many, so that kind of bothers me. For example, did you consider doing individual entrances for the ground floor?
We do. We have actually you have entrance doors from the screened-in porches.
But the exteriors don't read that way.
You would see it through the porch. You'd see an entrance door through that. I mean, you're right. The front door is not on the face of the building. It's stepped back into the porch like a residential house would have, yeah.
The other thing was that this opening to the garage is so much taller than it needs to be. It's just this great big.
Yeah, I mean, we could lower it down. You're right. That would be easy to lower that down. That's
maybe
that's a good point.
Arch to that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Stone detailing and stuff.
That would be. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's a good idea.
But as I say, I just feel like there's kind of a missed opportunity here.
The only thing I would say is that, I mean, in response to that, and I understand your point of view for sure, but we see this building more as a background building and not as a civic building. So it's not this building, which is the city building or the train station or a church or that sort of thing. These are like residential apartment buildings, so they should be more background buildings than they are buildings that say, look at me, and with all different shapes and sizes. So, I mean, we had that, so that would be a contrast to how actually, we see it and view it. But I think the ideas of, one is if we had more, we could have the door openings more pronounced on the elevations for the first floor, because I think that is
I realize you're trying to give the people the amenity of a screened porch.
Well, we wouldn't have to have them screened. I mean, I don't know that they are screened. I mean, which allows the view, you'd see through it and you'd see the door like you would in a residential for that. Because the screening is obscures, obviously, the door for that.
Anyway, I just, it's just, I guess I've said everything I thought about. I would also encourage, more detail on the exterior and, maybe working with some different brick coursing, that kind of thing.
So it's relationships, so it would be, I mean, I think we could absolutely, put more stone on it and have stone headers instead of.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say stone headers, but, for example, you have one row of one course of soldier above a window.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about a soldier with stretchers or headers above it? Just kind of additive you know, something down the sides of windows.
Sure.
The other thing I would say is lug sills would be something I would look into, but, and that's really all I had to say, I think.
Neil?
I do think that the building looks more like a school than an apartment building. That it could use some help there, and I'd like to compliment you on the article that was in the Tribune on Sunday. That's a nice article about you guys.
Thank you.
But I think this is certainly an improvement. That site has been sitting there for quite a long time. It's going to be difficult it's been seen as very difficult to develop, and I think you're coming up with a plan that will work. Is the intention where you've got either floor plans that show 3 on a floor or 4 on a floor, is your intention to wait until you get purchasers and then decide where the?
Yeah. Our format for what we do is we sell basically a white box, and we custom design the interiors to whatever the client wants. So that's what we won't know until, which is a kind of a unique situation, as opposed to designing them all and then finding people who don't want 2 bedrooms, they actually wanted 3 bedrooms, or they wanted 2 bedrooms and they wanted 2 offices and 2 different things. So it's really worked out quite well. All our other projects are the same.
Sure. No, as it goes through, it's going to be fun to watch the process on this. But I could live with this the way it's designed, but I still think it looks like a school.
Good.
I certainly hear what the other 2 commissioners are articulating. I think, maybe the terminology is to soften it in some way, and I think that's kind of the word that they're looking for. For the record, I really like the project, and I'm a fan of it. I think just looking at ways to, the length of that facade, obviously on Scranton is the most significant, so that would be, potentially need to be softened in some way is the terminology that I would use. But otherwise, I think it looks really nice, and I don't have a real problem with it. So it's a welcome addition, in my opinion.
I actually agree with all of that. I think it does remind me of some apartment buildings like in Evanston, and I liked what you were saying about the brick being sort of that what were you calling it?
Like a hand-molded brick. The faces are not like machines, so they're not square.
I like that.
So it gives it, just gives it more texture.
Yeah, I do really like that. But I think to Art's point, I think it's a real opportunity because this building's obviously going to be here for a really long time to maybe add some more interesting details. And I know it's a hard line to walk between making it residential and making it look like it fits into the business. But I think the softening and the maybe more detail to it could be nice. But I also had questions about those corners. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about those screened-in porches, and are those where the railing is? Are people going to be putting their furniture and stuff out there?
Yeah. So on the second, there will be a terrace that you can walk out on the second floor.
From each unit.
From each unit,
person.
yeah. So you could have a grill out there, and you could have furniture out there.
Right. So my only thing about that I was wondering is that's such a those corners are so focal, especially that one there. And I was just wondering how that's going to look once people put all their stuff out there, their grills and whatever they've got going. And it might be fine, and maybe it'd be like, oh, it's very residential looking, or it might just look really, depending on the person who's putting the stuff out there, messy, and I don't know. And I was just.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I think in our units that we have so far, that what people have put out is because of the price point of the units themselves.
Yeah.
People do it pretty tastefully, and typically they have pretty nice landscape in it, and they have pretty
stuff.
nice furniture out there, so it's actually quite good
Potentially
looking.
not
But I
today.
mean, I'm not, I mean,
Yeah, part of me was like, maybe that railing, should it be like a little more beefy or opaque or something, or where it's not quite as on display, or, I don't know, I just was looking at that.
I think it's a good comment though, too, is that one is, if we provided some sort of railing that did more screening, it would give a little more privacy to people actually sitting out there too.
Right, so
So you're
maybe-
not as much in a fishbowl too.
Right, or people looking up your skirt.
Yeah, I mean, there is, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a good feedback.
I don't know, that was just my only wondering about that, actually. But I generally, I think I like it. I think it could be a really nice addition. But I definitely agree with you guys down here where you don't want it to look like a school, you don't want it to look just like a huge brick factory thing, or, yeah, I mean, I get the.
I mean, I think he's done a pretty good job of breaking up the facade with
Yeah.
the verticals.
Right,
I mean, there's only so many ways that you can
right,
create that articulation,
yeah.
right? So I think, and with the recess of the entrance, taking the corners out and having those become a different material, I
Yeah.
think is achieving
helping, yeah,
that. So I think overall, I think it's a successful concept, for sure.
yeah. I agree.
My turn? Okay. All right. Well, first of all, I love the idea of putting the notches on the corners, because that gives you some relief as you approach the building from any old direction. And so I think that's good. I've looked at your buildings in Lake Forest a number of times, and I noticed just today I went down looked at the short one again from head on, and those do have the stone lintels, and I think stone, don't they?
It's funny, the first buildings have stone, the second floor, the two-story building does not. It has brick heads, and we did that to sort of, that was this idea that we would
That's a
change it up.
Bigger building, yeah. No, it isn't.
No, that's the same scale. It's the same scale. I mean, it's a pretty different look to have sort of this black, white, versus brick detailing. It's interesting. If you look at Kelmscott, and Larry Booth did that. There's an enormous amount of brick detailing in those buildings. If you look at them, you can't pick it up at all. I mean, I think the regular, probably Ed and I sit there and go like, oh my God, look at the herringbone that they put in there and the little offsets, and it really doesn't read at all to me. And there's two colors of brick that are slightly different. I mean, it almost looks like they messed up. They didn't have enough brick. I'm not really, I think the buildings are fine and all that. My point is that I think if you want to see more detail, it should be more black and white. So we should have stone headers against, so you'll see a little bit more contrast and you'll see a little bit more. And I still think that fits within the CBD context of what is there. So I think, from further away, if you could see that, when you can see those stone headers when you're having a beer at Prairie or whatever, you can see it from that far away. It's probably a good thing because it makes a pretty big difference. And, Bob, you picked that up pretty quick in those buildings.
The other thing that occurred to me, and from what you just said, I think you'd probably argue that you can't see it, but I'd argue that you can because it's right on the sidewalk, literally.
Yeah. No,
What you would call the spandrel, but not even the spandrel, the space between second floor and first floor windows. They're all stacked, they're lined. Develop a herringbone or some other pattern in there that does give you some more texture that maybe you can't see from across the street, but you certainly can when you're in the library or walking by the building, which, everybody in this town walks their dogs, 50 times a day, and so it's gonna get a lot of traffic.
Rides bikes,
And
yeah.
so that's just a way to maybe add a little texture to it.
and I think you're right. I think it's both. I don't think it's one. I think it needs to have some more stone and some more detailing in it to basically make the icing look a little more detailed, which, it could have it at two levels, not just one.
The question I had, and I threw it out to the group before you got here. The ones in Lake Forest are black, they're the metal. Is there a down shading of that, like maybe a bronze or something instead of?
You know, I first did it in white.
Well,
and-
I thought about white
and-
too,
and,
and,
you know,
that's pretty stark.
I couldn't get past it. You know, I really couldn't get past it. It was really, I mean, the white is just so more in your face in terms of it. And so we went back to the black, but I think I like the idea of if we could do a dark bronze or something like that, different, we can look to see. I think most of the manufacturers make that in a different, you know, color like that.
What are the windows, what are they made out of? What are they?
There'll be aluminum clad wood windows.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, we would have a, you know,
They do
pre-finished.
have a
do-
bronze. 'Cause-
Yeah, they have a bronze too, which would actually be kind of an interesting idea for that. But I was kind of we debated whether to go with white or black, but at the end of the day, we have more votes in the office for black than we did white. So I think we could look at a different color.
I don't know that I have, so you say there's doors into the first floor apartments from the street?
Yeah, so
Would be, or they are?
they are. We found that in some of the other units, it was really nice. People really liked the idea of having an access to the unit that people could come over, wouldn't have to go through a front lobby. And then you just come right in the side door, basically, into the house. So it's a regular French door that you just can come in. We have little sidewalks that come up into those, which again, I think breaks the street up and has it, you know, that there's just not one main entrance and that there's, you know, sort of a main entrance and then one on either side for each of the units to enter in for that. So you know, I don't know that having screens in those porches is a good idea. That the porches might read better if they're not screened.
Yeah, in the drawing, it looked like a black box.
I know,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm thinking that, you know, if it weren't, it would be better. And I'm not sure, you know, how much benefit the screen.
No. Ed did a house down on North, and maybe I haven't seen him before. He did it, but the screens that come down.
Yeah, we automated screens.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, if someone, the trouble with that, we've done that in in one of the units, they're always down.
Okay.
You know, they're always down. And so, you know, you can't say, hey, you got to put them up. You know, I mean, I guess you could write something into the code, or into their bylaws, but they can't. Yeah.
Otherwise, do you have the room to take the screened-in portion of the deck out of plane just a little bit?
Did not have it sit flush with the face. Yeah, I mean, even if it were like 6 inches or something back, is that what you're thinking?
4 inches. Yeah.
4 inches, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that in our units is the outdoor space is really meaningful for people.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to move into a condo that has a 5-foot deck, and these aren't. But, you know, so the upstairs units have a whole roof area that they can develop. The downstairs actually have patios and yards. So I don't think the 4 inches out of those I think it's a good idea.
Or go the other way,
I think it'd be better to be pulled back than pushed out.
probably.
I think, you know, so the thing kind of sets back. Those pilasters, we played with the depths of those too, in terms of how far I think we have them at 4 inches now. We had them bigger and then we made it a little smaller.
And the detailing of those could be really, something really nice too, you know, that corner, because it's so different from the rest of it. I think that could be a nice opportunity to make it residentially or softer or more detailed too.
The landscape is a big element
Yeah.
in our projects. I mean, I think if you go to McKinley, we spend a lot of money on boxwood and, you know, we've kind of learned about how to keep it alive and how to maintain it with gravel and from the edge of the thing. So, I mean, again, this will be the same thing. You know, I think it's really important to have high-level landscape in the beginning.
Well, this is a high-level place.
Yeah, I mean, these are not cheap. These, you know, this is not affordable housing. We're not making it out to be affordable housing. So, I mean, really people are looking to live in a high-quality space. But, you know, we feel that the landscaping is a really important element to the overall design of the thing.
And the landscaping you have here, once it grows up a little bit more too, can also provide a little privacy to that.
It's basically going to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that,
could
I mean,
really
that's
help.
really, that's
Yeah.
pretty much what
That
you're.
could help a lot,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know we used to manage, before I retired, an expensive building in Highland Park that had first-floor units. And everybody that had a sliding glass door to a patio converted it into the front door to their unit instead of going into the building. So I would encourage you to take the screen porches and figure out a way to put a door on there, because if you don't, the owner's going to come back later and create it. That's what we had happen on that building. And the other thing on the first floor that we were talking about a little bit is the concern of people walking by and looking in the windows. That was the other thing that they did a lot about.
That's what we use the landscaping basically to give
No,
you
I
some
like
privacy
what you were
for
talking
that.
about the taller
Yeah,
landscaping
to
and
get
things like
that
that. I
privacy.
think you're right on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have a fair amount of space between the edge of the sidewalk to the face of the building to the property line is actually in a little bit. It gives us enough space to do that. And in our buildings and the other buildings that we've done is pretty tight to the street, but we've really handled that space. You know, I think it's 8 or 9 feet between the edge from there to the edge of the building, and really basically fill it full of plants, you know, in a meaningful way, in sort of an English garden kind of way, is what we think we should do.
Would you be looking to add any, like sconces or any kind of lighting to demarcate doors or anything?
You know, I think at the door, I think they should have sconces in the porches in either side, and then at the front door too, on either side. I think that could help that for sure.
Or like one over the garage kind of entrance?
Yeah, I like this idea of having that arch over the garage and lowering that down, because I do think that's peculiar, and I hadn't really thought of that.
Windows behind it, that's one problem
Yeah.
that I'm sure.
Yeah, there are, but I mean, I think we could get a happy medium there of where that is to help that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I don't know when you're, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
Quick question. So all the second floor units, the intention is that they have access to the penthouse on the second floor. I don't know if in your previous presentations you've had pushback on the second floor outdoor balcony, like kind of what you had articulated. So really the second floor has 2 outdoor spaces?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, you know, at what point, if the pushback is such that, you know, the second floor space on those, you know, you have 2 outdoor spaces available to you, so I'm just.
And I get it, and I understand it. Here's the issue is that it's kind of a pain to grill on the roof.
Okay,
And so
yeah, that makes sense.
typically people put their grill on that patio space
Okay,
to go out there. I mean, I have to say, the ornamentation that people put on their, because you're spending $2 million on a unit or plus, beyond that, usually the plantings and the landscaping in your patio are really pretty right on, you know, and they're really nice to look at. The other thing is you're looking at it from your unit inside.
yeah.
So, you know, and
You
so
want it to
people
be nice.
typically have that. So, you know, at least all the ones on McKinley are really pretty well done for that. So I'm not, I think the idea of having trees along there which are going to soften it over time and really grow, that's going to basically, the building's going to be hidden by trees in the summer.
So the big ones on McKinley, that have the trees, literally trees on the roof.
Yeah, yeah. And there can be here too.
They gotta be in pots.
They're going to be in pots, so
Yeah.
they're limited in the
Big
size. Yeah, I mean, we have some rather extensive landscaping on the roof of those units. And I would say that probably these will be scaled back, more like what you see on the second story, the 2-story building on that front piece, which is, you know, sedum and lower plants. It's a lot to maintain up there. That's one of the things that people are really getting away from is, hate to say it, their Mariani bills, but.
Well, I moved into a condo.
Yeah, exactly. And then some of them is like as much, you know, you take care of that.
When you
as
talk about pots, on that same building I was talking about, I've had people have to rent a crane to lift the big pot up there that they couldn't get it inside the building.
the whole thing's done by a crane. Yeah, like all the rooftops are all done by crane. Yeah, to lift everything up. Yeah.
This is a workshop, so we're not, you're gonna be back with your.
Yeah, no,
pitch.
so I really appreciate everybody's input and thoughts. I think we got some really, I felt like we made some real progress tonight. And so that hopefully we'll be back to you pretty soon and with a lot of your suggestions, integrated into it. And so we can move this forward. We'd like to, we feel pretty strong that we could, if everything goes right with the city, that we could be starting the construction late spring, early summer, be about a year until it were completed. So I know it's been a long time to have a vacant building there, and
It's gonna be like next week that it's completed compared to what it's been.
yeah, I know. And the neighbors have actually been very good, the immediate neighbors, in terms of understanding. I mean, we're bearing all those power lines behind there. We're going to take care of the drainage. So there's a lot of stuff they put up with. And I do think that this use is really the minimal impact to them too, in terms of, 8 residents with underground parking versus a restaurant or some commercial application or something, which, I worry about the restaurants here now, versus another, I think we need to just support the things that we got versus that. So I do think that this use makes a lot of sense.
I see there is one person from the public on the Zoom, and I just want to say, if you want to speak out there on the Zoom, just press the button to raise your hand to be recognized. No indication
No?
that they want to
No
speak.
takers?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks. Sorry about being late, but I'm glad I made it. And
Yeah, we are too, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is
Danny,
great.
thank you.
Good to see
Ty?
everybody, and hopefully we'll see you. I guess the next will be January meeting or February meeting. Yeah.
January 9th,
Ninth.
or February, whenever that is.
Perfect.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All
Just,
right, what else do we got?
Just as this is kind of unimportant, but the building is going to be located on 3 of these lots?
Right, 3, yep.
There's 2 lots that face Evanston. And
Yeah.
it's taking the rest of them.
Right, they've got 3, yep.
Okay. And were those things for sale individually, or?
No, it was sold as a group of 3 with the PNC Bank. At one time, the PNC Bank owned all 5, but it was split up by a previous owner, so the eastern 2 were separated off into one property and the western 3, another property.
You have no idea when development's going to take place on
On the eastern
these
2?
2?
Yeah, no, that was the subject of also a workshop at the PCZBA, but they're not as far along in their plans there.
Who's doing that?
Tom Dobbins is the architect
Oh, Tom.
for that,
Okay.
yeah.
And what are they contemplating there? Again, multifamily, or?
Yeah, they were showing a 4-unit building, which looked, I think they got comments saying it was a little big for the site there.
Well, it'd be like 2 duplexes.
Yeah,
We could do that,
yeah,
if you do it right.
well,
I keep telling everybody to go up and either look at Fort Sheridan or Singer Island and Kenosha.
yeah. Someone else had a scheme for 3 townhomes on that lot, going along Evanston, but it was not a fully fleshed out design, just a preliminary sketch of that. That looked pretty nice.
But who owns it?
The Trombley family,
So do they
they
own,
they live a couple houses east of there.
okay, so who owns are we still on?
Yeah, we're still on. Do we want to make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, let's make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
okay,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 okay.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Okay, so, and what Art was originally saying about the context of the single-story buildings across the